Greetings to the best family on YouTube. Well, in our opinion at least. Our E.D.C. family. I'm your host, Prophet, and with me as always is the Professor. And we both thank you for joining us for yet another E.D.C. video. It is also another knife video. So stay sharp with us and let's take a closer look at the Jared Oeser F-22 Kickstop, featuring the Lee Williams Kickstop flipper mechanism. If you like the tally, feel free to see how many times we'll use the word kickstop in today's video. All right, without further ado, let's jump into the carry or bury process and see if today's knife is going to kick ahead or stop short. Okay. It's our 1 to 5 rating system is how this works. If you're new to that, we do have a video online that explains that. So if you don't want to kick it with us through our first couple of segments, Professor will help you flip ahead in the video, okay, to get you right into our third segment, the needs and nails segment, which is our scoring segment. That timestamp should be placed somewhere, I don't know, around here on my hanky. Now, for those of you new to the channel, please watch our video on how we do things where we explain more in detail. But for a quick rundown on how we do things here at Carry or Bury, first we review an E.D.C. item. Yes, we know, we're aware, we've mostly been reviewing knives. However, that is not all we get excited about around here, okay? Although knives are a huge part of everyday carry, we will focus on many other items as we grow. Now, knives will dominate our landscape here. And for now, yes, they are going to be a big domination. Now, just understand, they're the genesis of everyday carry for the majority of us that collect. Use daily, prepare, prep. Like most of you at home, we have amassed a modest collection of knives. And as we get rolling, our content will include everything from flashlights, or as our brothers and sisters may know them from across the pond, torches. We'll also have camping gear on the channel, fidget items, pocket pieces, watches. Ooh, watches. Now, don't get into watches. That is a real issue. Now, here's a quote from Nick Shabazz, who's one of this channel's favorite YouTubers, so you can check it out, but don't get into watches, quoted by Nick Shabazz himself. Our first section, we will talk about the item that we're here to review. We will talk about the company, the maker, the name, the significance, and all the details that we can about the inspiration behind said product. We'll also do our best to break down what we can locate online about the product, the folks involved, and anyone who had their say in bringing it to life. The second section, number 2, that is where we will compare the item or product to other like products. We will always try to use our direct knowledge and experiences. However, there may be times where we need pictures or web browser stuff, basically outside help. As always, we will discuss the price, cosmetic, and other features of the focus product, and also comparison products in a way that you can visualize and make informed decisions. That way you can know if you want to purchase the item, or if you want to give it for a gift, or if there's just something on your radar and you're not sure. Our job is to help you maybe put you over that hump. Now, finally, our third section, which is our carry and bury section, we take our combined lists and opinions of the positives and the negatives of the product. Once we have that relevant positive and negative list, we will then cut to the 5 of the tipping points. So how that will work is we will then give you our results. Now, starting with the positive side, which we here call our needs. Again, you'll see that somewhere around here. And what that will look like is Professor has a pocket icon with the word need stitched into it so you can follow along at home with the count. Now, the negative side of the argument will be represented with nail icons. We refer to this as the needs and nails scale. These lists, both positive and negative, can include our opinions on the item directly, the company, the manufacturer, or even the maker. We may also include our purchase process of when we bought the product, the exclusivity or the availability of the product or item, and honestly, even our basic opinions on everything from the pricing to the manufacturing process. Again, we'd always start with the positives. And if we have 4 positives or 4 needs, we will then stop and move on to the negative side, which again, we call the nails. Assuming that we have 4 needs and that we had to stop, so then we'll start on the negative side or the nail side of the argument. Then if we get to 4 nails, meaning we're tied up at 4 each, then we will have a quick break and we will get into our tiebreaker. Is it another positive? Is it another negative? Either way, it'll confirm if we would proudly carry the item or if we lean more towards the bury side, in which we will have a 21 flipper salute and the bearing of said product on air. All right, okay, folks, let's kick off with Jared Oeser himself. Now, you can find Jared's website by going to oeserknives.com. That website will put somewhere around here, and that will give you some basic information of Jared himself, what he does, how he got there, but I'm happy to give you a brief overview of sorts of that right now. So here's a little snippet of Jared's beginnings. He first decided to try making knives in around July of 2011. That's when he approached his longtime friend David Lang and asked him to teach him the ropes of knife making. Jared's first experiences were on a grinder called a baiter, and it had a 14-inch wheel, and that's all he used in the beginning. Over time, he made a knife that would be the start of his knife-making beginnings. And forgive me if I don't say this correctly, folks. The Unta Bushcraft, or Unta Bushcraft, the Unta Bushcraft, or Uinta Bushcraft. And we're going to probably butcher that again if we try to say it, so I'm going to move on. But basically, it was a full convex blade made from O1 steel that he completed around August of 2011. And folks, the rest was history for Jared. So, flipping forward to 2012, Jared made his first slip joint knife, which had always been his ultimate goal. Today, he continues to make both types of knives, but his main passion is folders, right? Just like this. They are something that he uses and carries every day, and it reminds him of knives that his grandpa used to carry. He always tries to combine modern materials, as you see here in the Kickstop, the F-22 Kickstop, and other techniques with the old traditional style of yesteryear. So if you're getting a little bit of that, you can kind of see it in this knife here. Jared is an artist, first and foremost. His knives are made for use, but they are beautiful, they're comfortable. He believes that knives are made to be tools. His new goals are to bring that old-fashioned mentality to modern art. Pretty cool, if you ask me. Speaking of art, you can't speak about this knife without another gifted knife maker named J. Land Williams. And he is one of the most sought-after knife masters in the knife world. His knives are the cherished dream of many collectors, but with their high cost and very small production volumes, it's incredibly rare to find them. The creation of knives for him is not just a hobby, but an essential part of life. Williams has made all sorts of high-end knives that have included folding and fixed blade knives. However, his hallmark is rightly considered to be his flippers. Now, he's developed different types of fins, and what the fin is it's the flipper tab here, or as Nick Shabazz would say, the pocket pecker. Okay? So anyways, he's developed different types of the fins to open, each of which blends harmoniously with the image of the specific knife or product. You, our viewers, are getting to know him through one of his most famous inventions, at least in our opinion. It's the so-called Kickstop flipper, which is prominently used in this very knife and others with other makers that you will undoubtedly have seen or at least heard of. How does this work? Well, basically, the movable fin, which is right here, has its own independent axis of rotation. So after you flip it and it makes contact with the actual knife, the blade here, what happens is, or the tang of the knife, forgive me, What happens is you don't see it right here like you do in most other knives, which you would see in the tang here, and it would be cumbersome and in the way of some slicing and your hands or whatever the case may be, which makes this super clean and cool looking. Not to mention that whatever knife or maker is utilizing the Kickstop, I'll tell you this, it opens with absolute authority, okay? You can buy Lee Williams knives at a variety of online retailers, including mkknife.ru. Now, I found information on him and his knives on that website, although I've never, nor has Professor, ever purchased anything from that website. So please certainly look into it for yourselves. Do the research. Be careful from buying from retailers that you haven't heard of. Basically, use your best judgment, E.D.C. family, before you kickstop your pocketbook. Now, finally, I'd love to point out that on most retail sites that show specific information on the F-22 Kickstop, you'll also see under the term brand, it will say Steel Addiction. So to be as fair as possible and not knowing how any of this works, we absolutely need to give them a shout out for sure. I was able to locate them at steeladdictionknives.com. So feel free to check them out, do some more research. We will have it in our details portion of the video, and give them a check out. They have some really cool stuff on the website as well. We are at one of my favorite parts of our videos, the comparisons to other like items. Now remember, we really do try to compare them to pieces that we actually have available on our channel and that we have carried. Don't get me wrong, while we own dozens of amazing knives and gear, some would say that we might even have a problem, right? But in the wise words of Vanilla Ice, if you got a problem, I'll solve it. Which to us means if you don't have something to compare, we will most likely solve it by purchasing it. Okay, so today we have 4 knives here on our table that I thought would each have its own type of carry style to our little guy right here, okay? But before that, let's kick off the specs of the Jared Oeser F-22 Kickstop itself for all of you watching at home. So what is the Kickstop? We did speak about that above, but to recap it here, I'll use quoted information from Jared's website. The Kickstop is originally a proprietary custom knife flipper pioneered by Lee Williams. Now, partnering with Steel Addiction's quality and Jared Oeser's designs, the Lee Williams Kickstop delivers maximum drive to the blade when flipped, and then, like we talked about, disappears when the blade is open. So, max power, fast action, and a really sleek profile. Now, Steel Addiction, a company that we are learning about here on the channel and have yet to be disappointed in doing our research, has teamed up with the almighty Jared Oeser, the mastermind behind the Benchmade Tengu, and together gives us the F-22 Kickstop, named for its employment and deployment, right, of Lee Williams' wonderful Kickstop flipping opener. Again, we've already spoken about all that, so let's get to some specifications on the knife. So we have an overall length from the bottom of the handle to the tip of the blade of 7 875 thousandths of an inch. The length of the blade, okay, is going to be 3 375 thousandths of an inch. The cutting edge, which you'll see from the tip to right here, okay, that is going to be about 3 1/4 inches. The blade width is 830 thousandths. The blade thickness, okay, so we got the width and now we've got the thickness of the blade. At its thickest point is 125 thousandths of an inch. The blade material is going to be Bowler M390. Now, for more information on Bowler M390, please visit Dr. Laren Thomas at knifesteelnerds.com. That website and Dr. Thomas is going to give you the best descriptions and information on this steel and many others. So basically, the go-to doctor of any blade style or blade steel. Now, the blade style here is a drop point. The blade grind is a flat grind, and it does have a satin finish. All right, folks, the handle length is going to be 4 1/2 inches. The handle width is going to be, about 4/5 of an inch and about 800 thou. The thickness, okay, right around here is going to be about 500 thou or half an inch. The handle material is micarta, okay. It is considered a frame / liner lock type locking mechanism. It's more of a frame lock, to be honest. It is a titanium frame lock under that micarta handle. The weight of this knife is 3.2 ounces. It does come as a right hand pocket clip tip up from the factory, and you cannot change that. It does use bearings, and the country of origin, it is produced in China by none other than Riat Knives. Okay, our first comparison here is easy. You can easily find these still around $170 to $190 USD. Due to the lightweight and popularity of the knife, I could not keep the Spyderco Paramilitary 3 off of the table for this comparison. All right, so now this particular Para 3, it has Spyderco's clip point blade, and which obviously has their Spidey hole in it. And it has their own knife steel on this particular knife. It is the CPM Spy 27 knife steel. Spyderco's own knife steel, which has very strong stainless properties. Now, although the blade, being smaller than the F-22 Kickstop, comes in at under 3 inches, and having 145 thousandths of an inch of its satin finished blade thickness, with its blue FRN handles, it keeps us well below our ounce to blade length and target, coming in at 2.4 ounces. Now, as you can see side by side at the profile here as we turn the knives. Kind of give you all that. Compression lock. All right, folks. Our second comparison knife that we have here for you is going to be none other than the ProTech. The ProTech Malibu, you get premium materials. It also sells around $225 and to $290 depending on sales or what retailer you're picking it up from. Now, obviously, the premium materials can get a lot more premium with ProTech. So you can get them engraved, you can get them pretty cool. So we are pretty big ProTech lovers on the channel, and I look forward to having a separate video for this guy for you soon. A little bit about this knife quickly. It is USA made. Does have a button lock flipper with a stone-washed 3.3-inch CPM 20 CV. Comes in their reverse tanto blade that is 125 thou of thickness. Now, it does have a nice flat grind here as well that gives the blade a very nice utilitarian, okay, and sleek look, which we kept in mind with the F-22. It has aluminum handle. And the really neat thing about this blade is the overall profile is actually pretty close to the Kickstop. So we are going to give you a little bit of close-up time here before we get into our third comparison. We're going to put them together for you, folks. Now, I know we get a lot of love about the condition of my hands. I will say this. I love working with my hands. Woodworking, framing, doing all kinds of wonderful things. We're working on a pretty big project at the home here. And so just so you guys know, I'm not shy about my hands. I'm not going to go and get them nice and pretty for anybody. If you have a problem with them, I apologize. But we're here to kind of give you information and to run through the way that we do things. So I'd appreciate it with a little bit of love. I know these are definitely not going to be hand models or watch models anytime soon, but that's okay. All right, folks, let's go ahead and move on to the third comparison. Now, this one is a little bit different. I will give you that, and I'll kind of explain what my thought process was here. But just to introduce the knife real quick, this is the Rio XO-M. So we did choose this not only because it's a fellow Riat made knife, but also due to the art and the usefulness that this knife brings. You can find them price-wise, depending on, again, the premium materials, between $285 and $300 when they are available and in stock. All right, please note, folks, that this knife is a gravity knife. Okay, it uses gravity to close and open. Okay, now even though we find most laws, especially knife laws, are really stupid, you need to remember that we're not lawyers, nor do we carry this knife outside of our home, okay? Because we live in Minnesota, where carrying it can bring consequences. So you should always consult with your local knife laws and an attorney to see if you can own a gravity knife, or, in that matter, any other out the front manual or non-manual knife. Okay. Now, if you can own it, you will appreciate the almost 3-inch double-edged satin blade. It is a blistering 118,000. So, folks, the XOM here. It also has a premium knife steel in Elmax. That's a nice touch, in my opinion. It has a bead blasted titanium head with green and black micarta inlays. Overall, just under 7.5 inches of blade length, bringing it to about 4.3 ounces. So although it is on the heavier side, it still is really great to carry if it can be safely and legally carried. And if you are doing that, it does have a tip-down right-hand pocket clip due to the button side lock here. Let's give you some next to each other deals here. Give me just a moment. Let's give some comparisons of the knives next to each other a little bit here. Oop, probably should have safely locked that guy for you before I got into this. Show you the back side of both of these guys here. Okay. Little front side action. Let's close them up. That's not going to be perfect, folks, but give you a little bit of something. And finally, in our comparison camp, let's put this guy away here. This one's more for me, okay? And just, well, because we're talking about sleek knives, knives that fit nicely in your pocket, knives that really have a nice slim profile, knives that, let me clean this guy up, are artsy, if you will. And I honestly, guys, I can't keep this one out of that. So it's going to give away a little bit about me, and I think we all know that. The guy's a Star Wars fan. Here we have the Bounty Hunter from Microtech. All right, the particular model of this one is the 123-10BH. It has an overall length of 8 375 thousandths of an inch. It has a 5-inch handle made from aluminum, but it's not just aluminum, folks. It is apocalyptically worn aluminum, right? So that gives us easy math on the blade length, at least. The 3 375 thousandths of an inch of premium blade steel, okay, that is bead blasted and stonewashed to give it the apocalyptic look of that Boba Fett from Star Wars, right? That comes to about 130 thousandths of an inch in total blade thickness. It is a double action, American made out the front, or OTF knife. Now, this knife does come in at about 3.45 ounces, just under 3.5. Does have a super slim profile, which brings comfort to carrying. Two things quickly on this before we continue. Out the front, or OTF knives, can also be trouble if they are not allowed to be carried or owned where you live. Please, please get advice. And don't get that advice from a Jedi. Get it from your local law enforcement, from real lawyers or real professionals that actually know. Consult your state and local area's knife laws before purchasing or carrying any of these knives that we show here on our channel. When you can find this knife around the interweb, it sells for between $350 and $380 USD. Or you can do what I do and watch the Thursday night Apostle Pete knife sale. And that is right here on YouTube. And then you can get knives like this right? Or this at a steel. Get it? Steel? Yeah, the Apostle P. We will put that again in our description. Okay, let's take a look at these guys next to each other a little bit and get you some more up close stuff. All right, take a look at these bad boys together here. You can see the Microtech is more of a straight edge opposed to the curved style handle here of the Oeser F-22 Kickstop. It is one of those things. Is it a thing? It is a thing. And rambling on this channel, it is definitely a thing. But where else are you going to have an old dude like me give you this wonderful type of time? There's a decent side profile there. All right, guys, as we talked about, I kind of threw this one in. Although you can kind of see why it would be a compared item, I'm going to be honest, I just really like the knife. Okay, let's talk a little bit about section 3 coming up in just a moment. Now, E.D.C. family, whether you have found yourself here by jumping from the beginning of the video, or if you actually watched me fumble through another complete episode, here we are at the end. I hope by now we don't need to explain how this works. So let's jump in right to the battle of, do we proudly carry the Jared Oeser F-22 Kickstop off to its glory? Or do we bury it in the backyard in this here casket? All right, let's find out. Now, Professor should be putting the first... Yeah, I actually know it was up already. So the first need is up on the screen. So that's my cue. Number 1, the opening mechanism. I know you've seen this one coming. It is not only a really cool, fantastic way to open a knife quickly, easily, and with authority, but it is an innovation that is out of this world. It's spectacular. It's named after Lee Williams. It is called the Kickstop. Okay, it is a advancement in knife technology. No matter what you say, that's what it is. You get a wonderful, fidgety, and secure every darn time. It is super satisfying, but it is also useful. This knife can be placed almost all the way down in your hand, all right? Every portion of the blade without protrusion. I can see cutting cheese would be easy with this. I can see why Jared lovingly put Mr. Williams' name in the name of the knife. I can already imagine the second pocket showing up somewhere, I don't know, around here, right? And we're going to go to number 2 in the needs. The premium materials of this knife. This knife really is utilizing all of the goodies that we like it. So it is a very well done heat treat with the Bowler M390 blade steel, okay? Which for all of you out there, again, if you'd like to know more about, go to knifesteelnerds.com because Dr. Laren Thomas has information for you. Now, this and all other steels available for these knives, Dr. Laren Thomas can talk to you about. Now, aside from getting off the topic a little bit, I digressed. The drop point blade, and again, perfectly heat treated M390. You also get a really neat titanium inlaid shield here with the titanium frame lock over the beautiful micarta. Very well done. Premium materials, definitely number 2 pocket. Do we have a third pocket? Oh, we do. We do have a third pocket. And that third pocket is Jared himself. Okay, guys. I purchased this knife from a highly regarded website. However, the knife was an open box or display knife. So even though I got a really great price, there was no offered warranty. Well, not a week after owning the knife, the detent ball literally flew out of the knife. What did I do? I was bummed out. I looked online. I seen that I wasn't the first person with this issue. I nervously reached out to him and asked if I could purchase a detent ball from him, or if he might know where I can get one so I can try to do it myself. He asked me to send him the knife. personally. Said, send it to me. Now, he didn't even ask me at the time for return postage or anything like that, but as a human being, there's no way that I'm going to send him a knife without at least putting a couple bucks in for return postage. So I popped the $10 bill in there, sent him the knife, and honest to God, I got the knife back within a week or so. And oh my goodness, not only does it have a fresh detent ball in it, it is tuned perfectly. Okay, it is unbelievable. For someone in this day and age to have that kind of care and love for what he does, and let's be real, Jared didn't put this together. He designed it. He probably has some customs out there, right? But this particular one, he didn't put together. He didn't have quality control over anything like that, but he stood by his design, even though this particular version was not built with his two hands. We got four. We got four with those beautiful fingers, right? Those beautiful sausages. Number 4 on this knife is carryability. That's right. That's a word. This knife is super contoured. The knife is super lightweight. It has a wonderful pocket clip. And I even like the positioning of said pocket clip kind of out of the way there. You know, it's not super deep carry, but it's not terrible, right? But again, it's super light. It literally disappears in my pocket. I've even had this knife on me wearing gym shorts. It's super cool. I guess that's why our grandparents, right, could carry their old school type of knives so easily and everywhere. Heck, even, church, wherever. My grandpa always had his old school knife on him. And if you remember, this particular knife is an old school knife at heart with modern, artistic, and premium materials. Okay, we're going to stop there because we hit 4. We hit 4 positive needs. So, you know the rules. If we hit 4, we stop and we see if we have any negatives. Ouch! So, yes, the nail that you have seen here is the first negative, and that is a nail sound. So, we will move on to that. And I knew you'd seen this one coming. Quality control from the Riyadh end. Regarding that detent ball, so as above is below, right? We had a positive, it's also a negative. So even though Jared took great care of me without any questions asked, it still needed to happen, right? I needed help. And I've been able to find a few instances with this very same issue, so it doesn't look like it was a one-off issue. So remember, we give honest reviews here, and honestly, that's something that we found to be a negative issue. Number 2, now keep in mind, this might not affect any of you. I've got big sausage hands. They're beat up to heck, right? But I prefer not to have them more beat up all the time, right? So with this one, we're going to talk about usability for me and for Professor. So this knife, it really doesn't have any jimping or any holding on to it stuff, right? It is so contoured, so smooth. I mean, there are literally, for me at least, no hot spots, but there's also no jimping on the blade spine. There is nothing that is helping me really keep control of anything. You'll note that there is some jimping on the flipper, okay, but that's in there, right? Once the knife is deployed, so you do have some jimping to get onto the flipper and get the knife open. And this knife, again, it is designed for use, right? So don't get me wrong. As cool as it is and as awesome as it looks, for me, I would love to see just a little bit of jimping on the spine, something where if I'm going to be really getting into some cutting, that my fat sausage thumb won't kind of get all over the place. All right. That is the third nail. There we go. Professor is on his ball today. Where we're going to go with number 3 here for the negatives is we don't have a captured pivot. So in a knife, in today's machining, especially coming from Riyadh, I get that, this looks really nice. It looks, very symmetrical. But the problem is that over time, this will loosen unless you have a really good amount of Loctite in there. But if you're somebody like me who likes to get in and use his hands and field strip and clean his knives and oil them up, with today's machining, I would love to have seen some sort of captured pivot here, where we didn't have free spinning pivots on both sides of the knife. So that was number 3. nail number 4. And the guys, look, we're being a bit nitpicky here, okay? But to be honest, Professor did not see the big deal in this one. But for me, it's a negative. So for me, we're missing the blade steel stamp on the knife. So we have Jared's stamp here. Let's see if we can get that in focus. You can see we have Jared's little sign here. All right, there it is. And then on the other side of the knife, we actually also have, we have Lee Williams' design on the other side of the knife. It is done really cleanly. It's done really nicely. But again, guys, it's something that I wish we would have someplace, even on the spine here, where we'd have the blade steel. So we do have 4. All right, quick recap. Our negatives, they were, number 1, quality control. The detent bearing issues we talked about. All right. Number 2, we don't have any jimping or grip on the knife anywhere that I would like to see it, especially folks with larger sausage hands like me, or even for wet use, right? Number 3, we have the non-capture pivot screws. Number 4, and again, this one was me being nitpicky, but right around here, I would have loved to see that M390 stamped on the blade. Our positives, okay, the Lee Williams Kickstop. That was an awesome innovation and advancement in knife option technology, opening option technology, to be specific. The premium materials that are put together very nicely. Jared's personal touch and customer service. He stands behind what he puts his name on. And then the super carryability, lightweight, slim, disappears in the pocket. So we have 4 negatives, 4 positives. We need a tiebreaker, guys. And I got one for you. Okay, folks, drum roll. The last need or nail is? Okay, you all seen it coming. Yes, it's a need. All right, listen. The last need and the winning pocket, number 5. Folks, this is not just a usable knife. It is a piece of art. This is beautifully done. A traditional style knife that has all the modern love with a twist of art and beauty. Guys, simply put, this knife shows Jared's love for what he does, the love of his craft. This, to us, embodies what E.D.C is all about: uniqueness, preparedness, and usefulness, right? And we've got all of that in this knife. Basically, the Jared Oeser F-22 Kickstop, it surprised me. With my bigger hands, I'm normally not really into smaller knives, but I'll be honest, I was having a hard time finding negatives, and my partner didn't agree with some of my negatives. But just being somebody who's a little nitpicky, yeah, we could have seen some of that. Now, what do I think of the price? They've come down. I see them online right now. Some of them are around $260. For this type of knife with the proprietary opening mechanism, to me, I mean, let's be honest. Things have unfortunately crept up in cost. If you are the type of person that likes that old-fashioned style knife with that modern twist, with good premium materials, really well made, easy to use, disappears in the pocket, I don't see why that would be a bad price for you. Okay, I really don't. So the positives in this one definitely outweighed the negatives. With looking around the web, I'm sure you can find some great deals on it. If I can find some of the lesser priced ones, I'll put it in the description. And just a little personal note now that we're done with this one. We have been so happy with the likes and the new subscribers we're getting every week. We're getting really close to 75 subscribers. And remember, at 100, we'll be giving away a flashlight or a torch and a knife, okay? We'll be doing that at 100 subscribers. Once we clear the 75 mark, which we're getting very close, we will get more detail on what those winning things will be. So, folks, do me a favor, do us a favor, share. This is stuff that we really enjoy doing for you. You can find us on almost all social media apps by searching for @Carry or Barry. That's @CarryOrBury. And just look for our logo. Okay, until next time, E.D.C family, let's keep those blades sharp, okay? keep your flashlights charged, and if you're like me, keep those band-aids close. Remember, you, my EDC family, you are the best tool in your daily EDC loadout.